Organizing notes is very hard. Hello, everybody. So, we're back at the Divine Retrospective, and we're running into two issues. One I realized just now, and one I realized as we were pulling up the notes. As I was pulling up the notes. The first issue that I realized just now is that Proclus's video, I forgot to type out the text mentioned, so we will get that fixed after this because I have my notes here. The second issue is that we accidentally skipped a bunch. We went to the 5th century. I wanted to hit a couple things beforehand. So part 3 is going to be on Plotinus instead. Another great Greek philosopher. Very important for Greek paganism. And kind of is the next successor to look at after Plato. So if Plato, as we discussed with the good, these things, establishes that the divine is incorruptible, and that's beyond manipulation, Plotinus doesn't disagree. Instead, he sets out to explain why. And this is where we get some very interesting writings on Greek paganism. Writing in about the 3rd century, Plotinus developed what would become known as Neoplatonism, one of the single most influential philosophical systems of late antiquity. And at the center of his thought stands the One, the ultimate source of all reality. Now, let's understand, the One is not merely the highest God among other gods. It is the source from which all existence proceeds. It's beyond change, it's beyond limitations, it's beyond even being itself. For Plotinus, the reason the divine cannot be manipulated is simple. Perfection lacks nothing. Anything that changes does so because it seeks something that it does not yet possess. Change implies movement from a deficiency towards a fulfillment. From some form of ignorance to some form of knowledge. From some sort of weakness within the thing to some sort of newfound strength. But the highest principle, the One, possesses no deficiencies. And so Plotinus writes, the One needs nothing. This is a very simple statement, and it carries enormous consequences for how we view the divine. Because a reality that doesn't need anything doesn't have anything you can bribe it with. If the One doesn't need anything, you can't persuade it. If the One doesn't need anything, it cannot be emotionally dependent upon our worship. Nor does the One create the world because it desires companionship. Rather, and I quote, it is because it is perfect that it overflows. This is important, this idea that we will see walking down occult philosophy further and further afterwards is this overflowing of the reality. Existence proceeds from the One, not because the One gains something from creation, but because the goodness of the One naturally radiates outward, just as our sun illuminates without effort or any sort of intention. The one generates reality by virtue of what it is. For this reason, Plotinus tells us the one is not moved. The highest principle remains what it eternally is. The movement occurs within us. The task of religion and of philosophy, therefore, is not to alter the divine, but to ascend towards it through contemplation, through virtue, through our purification. Our soul gradually turns away from the distractions of the material world and towards its source. The divine in this situation remains completely unchanged. The question becomes whether we can become capable of participating in it at all. Now, Neoplatonism and Plotinus are a humongous marker, a humongous turning point in thought. We are still at a time in ancient Greece where the pagan gods are running all over the place, and Plotinus is still looking at this stuff from the view of Greek paganism. And Plotinus is looking at the writings of Plato, who talks of all things have a form at the highest. Therefore, the gods would have a form at the highest, and this gives Plotinus the one. And this gives Plotinus literally rebirthing Plato, Neoplatonism. And if you're sitting here being like, Dari, this sounds a little Christian, Christianity owes a lot to Neoplatonism. Judaism owes a lot to Neoplatonism. Kabbalah is Neoplatonism with the Jewish paint. The Jewish people were incredibly well versed in Neoplatonism, and what they created came out of this idea. Hermetics was hand in hand with Neoplatonism. Everything spiritually, magically, and religiously that we interact with today hinges on what Neoplatonism created. All of it goes back. If we are downstream, this is where the river starts. And it starts with Plotinus. And Plotinus says the same as Plato says, and the same as later Proclus says, since we skipped ahead. The gods don't need us. The gods don't need what we have to offer. The gods don't need our companionship. They exist as existence. They are perfect in their existence and are unmoved and unchanged. They do not change. The gods are not our friends. The gods do not require our prayers. The gods do not require our beliefs. The gods do not change. These may sound alien to you, but these are the thoughts and the words of those who practice what we claim to want to practice. And we would do well off to listen closely to what they say, for understanding how these people practiced will deepen how we practice and our connection with the history that we claim to love. It's more than just Homeric hymns. It's more than just Hesiod's theogony. It's a living, breathing thing that was wrote on intensely. We'll get to another part tomorrow. That's my time. May your ancestors bring the sweetest of portents. May you have the most wonderful of dreams. May you all stay cool. May you all stay safe. Shalom.